Hey everyone, my name is Rooster and welcome back to Mechabellum. In today's video, I want to talk about OTPs or one-trick ponies in Mechabellum. You might know them from other games if you've played, let's say, League of Legends, but you might think that it's not as viable in a game like Mecha, where everyone has access to the same units and typically the units should have a preset counter. So if you know what's coming, then surely you should be able to deal with it. And that's true up to a certain extent, but some of these one-tricks really do get very high on the ladder. The guy that we're going to be facing today, and we'll have two back-to-back games against him, really loves to play Factory. And he will hard force the comp every game. And he gets up to 2.2, 2.3k MMR consistently, which, mind you, is not the top 10, top 20 of the world, but I mean, he is well within the top 1%, if not top 0.1%. So clearly, he knows something, right? Or at least he knows that his comp can work. And I think what's happening is that the people he's facing don't really know the matchup as well as he does, and that allows him to climb as high as he does. Now, against him, because I know that it's him, his profile pic doesn't show here in the replay, but he has a very recognizable profile picture, so I always know when I'll be facing him. And I like to play aggro into him. We are starting here with Arc Lights, Fangs, and Steel Balls, and I get a good slab of hit points, 5.6k, and I picked it because I'm an aerial specialist. And the things that work well against Factory is often going to be air units. So things like the newly added Abyss, for instance. Doesn't mean that we're going to be playing that, but that was kind of the idea I had. I really love Abyss into Production Factory, which is what this guy plays, and it seemed like a solid plan for me to go for, because I know that he will have a Factory on the board by turn 4, maybe turn 5. Now, he's not the only one, by the way, who does this. There are a few other comps in the game and people that really like to just play one thing, and they get up to the highest of MMRs. There are Sledgehammer one-tricks. There are Phantom Ray one-tricks. One is pretty well known. The Ray Master, I think, faced him a few times, but yeah, they managed to find these comps that are apparently relatively well balanced, such that you can't easily counter them, or at least most people don't seem to know the proper counters, and they're often very snowbally comps where if you respond the wrong way, you will just lose. Alright, anyway, back to the game. We've got some unit reinforcements here on round 2. I am an aerial spec. I actually quite like the Tarantula because right now I'm struggling. Steel Ball into these sledges is not a good matchup, and I felt like I needed something else to help me out. I'm an aerial spec, so even though the Wasp and the Phoenix are nice, I can just buy a Wasp myself to deal with the potential, well, Wasp that he picked up or the Phoenix. He goes for Wasp, makes sense. And yeah, this way I make use of my specialist, but I still get a level 2 Tarantula as well. And the idea here is just to kind of get a relatively solid board going in the early game, not fall too far behind, hopefully build my chaff clear, such that I can get into, let's say, the Abyss, which is single target DPS, but not particularly good against the smaller units. You can see here, Tarantula does great, already managed to take the top spot in every single statistic. And my Wasps, they're doing okay, but it seems like the engagement isn't really favorable for me, as I'm getting flanked by his Wasp from the left, but we have one hero Wasp still alive that's able to get rid of his final Wasp. And that way, we are actually able to win the second round here without getting cheesed. So yeah, pretty happy about that. Well done, Mr. Fang. And now round number 3, my eyes immediately get drawn to the improved Overlord. I think this is a very, very strong card. It is practically unbeatable if you have the carry text, meaning range, overload, maybe even HE. In the late game, the only downside is it is very hard to set up, right? It's super expensive, it needs multiple techs, and you will often still need like smaller units to support this. But considering I'm aerial spec, I don't need to pay the unlock for this, and it just felt like I could probably get away with it. It has a bunch of damage, and I think it should be able to beat a Factory. So I said, you know what, let's throw the Abyss idea out the window, and let's just try and make improved Overlord work here. Opponent, curiously, picked it up as well, I'm not entirely sure why, because again, I know that he's going to go factory, and I've never seen him play Overlords apart from maybe Photon, but if you want Photon, you're not going to buy the more expensive Overlord. So maybe he was just trying to block the card, or at least hope that I don't pick it, and then at least if he picked it, it won't show up again. And yeah, I think that's like the best I can come up with as an explanation. He is a Fire Badger spec, so he will get access to that this turn. And I decide to go for a bit of a chaff round. As I said, I will need smaller units to kind of support my Overlord. I wouldn't have been able to buy more than one Overlord anyway this round. I would have had to sell, I think, a Steel Ball and then only buy the one, which didn't feel great to me. So instead, I'm just going to buy chaff. I'm going to need it anyway, and this way I managed to get 3 deployments down this turn. Also, I know that he doesn't have the money to get something like a factory this round, so I should be fine still. And let's see, how does this go? The Tarantula is still my most important unit, I would say. Right now, that's what's dealing all of the damage, and it's also kind of what's doing all the chaff clear. So yeah, it's a bit overwhelmed in terms of all the things it needs to do, and it will go down. The Wasps, we didn't manage to kill them. Again, the engagement there, not fantastic, and we will end up losing. But again, I started with a nice slab of hit points, so nothing too bad. Round number 4, this is when I want to start getting into those Overlords, and I would love that improved firepower. Seems good. Fantastic item here on the Overlord, and I know that it's going to have to deal, well, a lot of damage, and it's going to have to do multiple rolls at the same time. But that's what the card does, right? It's so expensive because you get 20% attack, you get 20% bonus hit points, and you get 5 extra splash. So this means that now the Overlord has 12 meters of splash, which is as much as a Tarantula does when it has the high explosive ammo tech. If you run high explosive as well, you can get this up to 19, which is awfully high, and that allows you to not just deal with big targets, because the damage is really good even if you nerf yourself with the high explosive, but it also has so much splash. It can chaff clear, it can deal with mid-sized units like sledgehammers. It's a, you know, all-in-one type of comp. We do manage to get an insta-lock here. We bought 2 Overlords this round. Sadly, the Overlord that I gave the improved firepower, which is a bit more central, isn't the one that locked onto the factory. So, well, it's still a beefy boy, right? Efficient maintenance, 150,000 hit points there. Exceptionally tanky. And it looks like we will manage to take it down, but will I be able to win? I'm not so sure. Marksman is going to get the locks. He started with those. And yeah, it doesn't seem like we'll manage to win this. We're going to get debuffed as well, I believe. And yeah, that is not ideal. So sadly, we don't win this round. I would have loved to, but it's not meant to be. And now round number 5, there is an amplifying core that looks pretty juicy. Would love to pick that up. There's an orbital jav that I kind of have to be wary of. So I thought he would pick up the jav. He actually ends up skipping. So just prioritize money to an insane extent so that I can invest more into the factory. And I thought he would jav. I thought he would javelin my Tarantula and the boat that was behind. So I decided to sell it because I don't think I would have been able to move out. Both these units are pretty slow. Instead, I just decided to sell and kind of cut my losses and spread out new Overlords such that they don't get hit. I also go for the Overload tech first because I really do need that extra damage, and I'm pretty happy I did because the opponent goes for Missile Interceptor. Now, this I thought was rather curious. It's something that used to work really well against Overlord, and when I say used to, I'm talking 6 months back or so. I don't exactly know when the buff happened to Overlord missiles, but once they buffed them, they became much more difficult to intercept. Even with things like an army of Mustangs, honestly, if your opponent runs Overload, you tend to just get overwhelmed, right? If your opponent just keeps buying more and more Overlords, they will be able to get through. So I didn't think this would pose that much of a problem, to be fair. We'll have to see, though, if I'm wrong or not, because, well, he is kind of the war factory expert here, at least the production factory expert. And you can see here, if I kind of turn the camera, some of the Overlord missiles are already getting in, because the efficiency of the Factory Interceptor kind of goes down throughout the round, across time, and at some point the missiles will start getting through, and that's exactly what's happening here. I do lose one of my boats, but I think we should have enough here with the Wasps still alive to be able to grab a win. 2 boats alive. I'm even managing to grab some levels. And that's a decent chunk of damage right there. So, first round here seems completely fine. Round number 6, we do get unit drops. There's a couple of options I can go for here. I can either try to diversify and go back into, let's say, melting points if I want to. Or even Stormcallers if I want to try and overwhelm the missile interceptor even more, or I can just take the Farseer and sell it. I end up going for that last option. Would it have been fine to go for the other ones? Probably. I think out of those ones, I probably would have preferred going for the Storms, because I think that the Overlord should have enough damage, and I don't want to go Melter and Overlord. The whole reason why I'm investing in this is because it should be self-sufficient as a comp. So yeah, Storm was an option, but I go for money. That allows me to get into range, buy more Overlords. I am prioritizing more Overlords here instead of levels, because it's just as easy to intercept a level 1 boat as it is a level 5 boat, right? The same is true for things like Stormcallers, and that's why you will often not see them upgrade them. Of course, upgrading Overlords is good, but in this specific scenario, I would rather have more so that I have more missiles. And suddenly we're up against 3 factories here, but even then you can see that here on the left side we're starting to get through, and the right side also has managed to overwhelm now as some missiles are getting through. 1 factory there already down. We are getting debuffed just because I have nothing left on the ground, and obviously the factories cannot shoot up, so they are just beelining for my towers. We're gonna get debuffed again, but yeah, my opponent didn't really get anti-air on the marksman or anything, so it looks like we might be able to brute force here. And that's the nice thing about that aerial spec plus improved Overlord, right? I have that 33% bonus hit points. Plus whatever I took on the tower enhancements. And you can see that the marksmen are struggling quite a bit. So even though we lost the ground, suddenly 3 boats still alive. That's minus 1200 by the end of round 6. Round 7, laser sight here shows up. I didn't feel like I needed this because I don't really need range. I'm connecting pretty quickly to his units. And instead I decided to go for an acid play here, thinking if this lands, it is absolutely massive for me. Another factory shows up. I am using it on the right side because I thought if he does shield, he will likely try and protect the existing factories, while his right side is kind of the weak side. So this is why I positioned the acid in the way that I do, trying to play around maybe an oversight from him where he's being greedy and only wants to shield his strong side. We're gonna diversify our board a little bit here. Instead of buying more Overlords, I decide to go for some shielded Wasps, because my opponent's anti-air for now is only a couple marksmen. So if I can delay that by going shielded Wasp, then that's lovely. Opponent though goes double shot here, which I also found rather peculiar. It is better into Wasp with shield because it gets rid of the shield instantly, but I feel like going aerial specialization would have been more worth if he didn't know that I would go shielded Wasp, because the tech gives you that prioritized targeting. The damage that you get from it is kind of comparable to double shot. And yeah, I felt like that would have been more sensible, but maybe he was afraid, right, of a shielded Wasp type of play, and then this does help him a little bit. He goes double shield, but we do still land a little bit of acid on the right side, so the new factory will be sitting inside of that. Very nice. And even though that my opponent did pick double shots, it's not going to be that easy for him to clear the Wasp, so we are able to buy ourselves some time. And let's see. Couple crawlers getting through. We likely will get debuffed once more because we haven't locked onto the factories yet. Maybe I should level up a couple of my towers, but I feel like against Factory, if it locks on, I probably would need like a level 3 to do anything meaningful. And for now, doesn't really look like he's managing to do too much to me. Wasps here on the left, still alive. Taking a long time for that marksman to get through. Right side, the marksman died inside the acid. And as we've recovered from the double debuffs, now the overlords are just sitting pretty and shooting down those factories. I still have wasps left, and the lack of anti-air really is hurting him here. And as you will see, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 4. That's 2k damage. And it means that we just win on round 7. So there you go. That is a first game here against someone who is, as you can see, really hard forcing their comp. I think this can work against people that might just level their overlords and not buy more of them. But if you run overload and you just kind of go wide like this, you should be fine. Keep in mind though, I am aerial spec. I also am running the improved overlord card here, so this probably wouldn't have worked as well with normal overlords, and I definitely wouldn't have gone for this if not for that card. I would have gone Abyss probably instead. Anyway, let's go to the second game, which happened back to back. All right. Game number 2, same opponent as you will see, and we get my favorite specialist, Elite Spec. I didn't even look at the other cards, I'm going to be completely honest. Whenever I see Elite Spec and I see Chaff, I don't think twice. I think that Elite Spec is fantastic. I love to play it. I think it is very viable if you know what you're doing, and we're just going to have to try and prove it in this game. Arguably, it might be a little bit harder to play this, because if I want to go Abyss, then that's going to cost me quite a lot if I have to buy it at level 2 instantly. But hey, maybe we can make something else work. We have a sizable amount of hit points yet again, so we should be able to have a little bit of leeway. Going to go aggro again this time around, switching things up from left to the right side. Crawlers in front here seemed like a decent thing for me to do. Didn't really want him to insta-lock with steel balls, although I kind of know that he's playing standard, so maybe I could have just put them in the back and add to the front line later. The nice thing about this, though, is my opponent is using hounds, so I know that he can't one-shot crawlers, and that means it's not as big of a deal for me to put the crawlers up front like so, because they'll be able to kind of tank a couple of shots anyway. Gonna go hound here myself on round 1. I think hound on Elite is great. You get past that threshold of being able to one-shot level 1 crawlers, and Hound still is a really good shaft gear unit down the line. Once you get range and range and mech rage, sorry, you clear shaft pretty quickly, a lot quicker than something like Arclight. So whenever I play Elite, I don't mind buying them. When I'm not Elite, I have been kind of straying away from them, but I do know that there are a couple of high MMR players that still like them a lot and play them regularly. So we're going to be pushing in on the right side here. I'm up against Fangs, so it doesn't even really matter here that we're level 2 Hounds, although they will help quite a bit against the enemy Hounds and against the enemy Steel Balls too. That's another benefit, right? Having 5 bodies instead of the 1, like with the Arclight, is very favorable against Steel Ball, so Hound definitely has a big plus there as well, as opposed to something like the Arc. And yeah, this will be a dominant round 1 win. As expected, really. If you lose on round 1 on Elite, it feels rather bad because, well, you have 100 extra supplies. So unless your opponent is like quick supply spec or you get cheesed, you often should be able to win the first round. Round number 2. No unit reinforcements. There is a heavy armor there. But I was thinking to myself, I probably don't want to use the heavy armor. I don't think it's that useful on the steel balls. I don't think I'll be keeping my steel balls because it's just way too volatile against a factory. It's not what I want to go for. And if I want to go Abyss at some point, well, that unit can't carry a heavy armor. So instead, I'm going to go for the Rhino drop because it was available and I don't really want to lose tempo here. So let's just use it defensively. It makes sense to use it defensively because, well, the back of my board is way more vulnerable than his and I can't imagine I'll be able to get in here. It also doesn't matter too much, right? I should just be able to win the fight like we just saw because I'm very favored here. I have much stronger units at this point. All I need to prevent here is a debuff from ruining that. And so I put 2 crawlers all the way in the outsides to stall, and then I put the rhino as far back in the middle as I possibly can, hoping that it'll turn, which it does. And as you can see, the crawlers here turn to stop the rhino. So we've successfully dealt with that call-in, and now what's left is just to, well, let this engagement happen the same way. Opponent added more chaff, so that might make a little bit of a difference, but again, we have the level 2 hounds, and they will still one-shot the crawlers all the same. So I do expect you to be fine here. One steel ball actually managing to go to the outside. That might turn into an assassin steel ball. Yeah, both of them will, in fact. So we get a debuff, and that'll be all she wrote. Our rhino also arrives a bit late to help out. And another successful round here. Dealing some chip damage. Always helpful. Can make a difference in the long term. And pretty happy with the early game here. I think Elite Spec is good on round 1 and like weak on turn 2, 3 for the most part. So being able to win here is very nice. And then once I get to kind of the mid game and the early late game is when Elite really becomes powerful, because now you suddenly have enough resources and it doesn't matter that you have to buy your units at level 2. In fact, it can become a bonus. Round number 3, we get the incendiary bomb. And yeah, it's the only thing I really was looking for. Efficient Giant isn't a good card on Elite in my opinion. It's very hard to make use of because your Giants are so expensive. So it'll just put you behind in resources for the foreseeable future, typically. I want to just play for tempo here. I don't want to fall behind. And I think, okay, you know what? Let's just pick the Incendiary as well. I wanted to buy some Wasps so that I had some anti-air. And I could still at least buy 1 Wasp pack and a small unit whilst picking the fire. And so we just trade here. I use the fire on the left side. I pick up a Wasp to protect my flank and also to arrive late and annoy his board. And then I pick up another Hound. What I'm gonna do here, by the way, not too happy with. I'm going wide onto the left. But of course what this will do is pull these units to this Hound pack instead of pulling them through the fire. Minor mistake. If it will matter, we'll have to see. My right side will burn, sadly. The Hounds are gone. But I did add some Wasps, and maybe we can just cheese an air round here. The reason I add Wasp is, again, it's really good flank defense, for one. But also, I know he wants to get into Factory. And Factory doesn't shoot up. So, I want to buy units that will annoy that game plan of his. I want to force him to do something about it, or if he doesn't do something about it, then I just get a default win. And that's why we are starting to kind of pick up those Wasps here. Round number 4, triple Sledgehammer shows up. Really, really nice. Lots of deployments and low levels, always good for Elite Spec. And I don't take too long to think about that one. Gonna put 1 here on the flank, right in front of that crawler. He won't be able to do much about it, so we should be able to chaff clear a little bit. 1 all the way in the top left, and then 1 on the main board here, kind of screening, protecting those Hounds that we added. And as you can see, again, as expected, round 4, there is a Factory on the board with the Efficient Maintenance tech. He also went for Sledgehammers. I mean, he runs the spawn techs, so this should kind of pair well with that idea of creating spawns. And I decide to go for Wraith in this scenario. I think to myself, well, again, I know that he probably is buying a Factory. If somehow he goes for like Wasp, or not Wasp, well, yeah, it could be Wasp, or goes Mustang, then a level 2 Wraith should be able to clear them. Also, Wraith is just really lovely here against the Crawlers, the Hounds, and even against the Sledgehammers. It's not that bad with the level that it has. And then on top of that, it will also protect my Wasps a little bit, right? So this felt like the right move, and I really do like going for air-heavy comps against Factories. I think it's one of the best things, if not the best thing you can do if you struggle against this particular comp. So yeah, do give it a try, and you'll see it's the second game that we try something like this, right? And yeah, Factory does clean up the right side, but can't shoot up. So we will just be able to win that with the help of the Wasps and the Wraith. And so we get another round win. Now, round number 5. There is a bunch of interesting cards. There's an Absorption module, which is very, very good on Wraith. But I wasn't planning to go carry Wraith here. I wanted the Wraith to tank. So because of that, I actually think maybe the super heavy armor here is much, much nicer. Because if he goes Mustang or if he goes Marksman, it'll be much harder for him to get rid of this Wraith if it has 150% bonus HP. Orbital Bombardment also is worth a mention. My opponent goes for it, somewhat expected. But yeah, I think here it's fine to go for the long-term idea. My board is semi-vulnerable to Orbital, but honestly, it's not even like that bad. I'm pretty like wide on the board, so it's not easy to hit everything. And I think just going for the long-term greed here is nice. So we're gonna pick up that super heavy, throw it on the Wraith. And now I'm thinking, well, I probably expect him to orbital here, right? This makes sense. That's where most of my units are and where my Wasp is. So I can try and beacon this Wasp around and save it. And I'm actually going to click Ground Specialization. What this does is it gives the Wasp 200% increased attack against ground units. So it should be really good against a factory. And because I'm elite, right, getting into giants, again, very expensive. So why not use the units I have? I know that he's going to struggle against the Wraith, right? Because either he buys Mustang, which wouldn't be able to kill it, or he buys Marksman, which are bad into Wasp. So I already created 2 problems for him. And as you can see, he only can cover the one. He goes double Marksman, level 1 with aerial specialization. But this is a tanky Wraith, and that's only a level 1 Marksman. We also have enough money now to buy another Wasp on the left, as well as another Wraith. And yeah, that means that we're going to be pushing into that tower after we manage to kind of pull his units to the flank. And the debuff just helps so much. I mean, look at the damage on these guys. Level 3 Wasp, all they have is that 200 cost tech, and they're already up to 160,000 damage dealt this round. So yeah, another good move here. And we went for the greedy option, whereas he went for the spell, and he didn't get anything out of it. Round number 6. And now things get a little scary. There is a fortress here, but I do have the Wraith. And again, the idea of this is that it tanks for the Wasp. So I probably just want to range my Wasps so that they stay behind the Wraith in case he does go for Fortress AA. I'm going to pick probably the Rhino. I'm not interested in any of these, if I'm being completely honest. Melting Point again is an idea, but I've already invested in Wasp as my DPS, so why would I get another DPS option that needs investment when I can just trust my call and trust that Wasps are enough, which I think they should be with this tech. Going to pick up a Rhino, sell one of them, they're worth the most, and then one is going to go all the way here on the top right flank because this factory is so far forward it shouldn't turn. And these units over here don't really like fighting a level 2 Rhino. We're going to use one of our Rhinos defensively, and as I said, we're going to pick up the range enhancement just in case Forte A comes out, and so that the Wasps sit behind the Wraith as intended. And then we also have enough money to go for 2 more blue Wasps. So a nice turn, I'd say. Opponent picks up the Rhino, sells one. So again, you can see a bit of a trend here where he really likes to go for Econ because his strat is expensive, and this allowed him to get Sledgehammer production as well. He's just gonna Goomba Stomp my Hounds here in the middle, which is fine. I don't think it's like that powerful. But we did protect our backboard, so that wouldn't have worked either. And as you can see here, yeah, these Wasps are no joke. I haven't been running ground spec for a while. It's something that I used to run back when I first started playing Worm Wasp, and now I put it back on the bar after some nerfs so that I can run Energy Shield, or well, some nerfs to improved Wasp in particular. And I'm running a more versatile setup, so I don't have like the ultra carry potential with the HE and the Elite, but I can sometimes play carry Wasp if the situation is right. And as you can see here, yeah, that seems to be this game in particular. My left Wraith did die, but we keep almost all of our Wasps alive, and that's another very good turn, putting our opponent down to 764 hit points. It is a bit slow to kill, and our opponent here gets another orbital. I mean, yeah, duplicate spells can screw you sometimes, so wasn't too happy about this one, but hey, we're still at full health, and we probably should be fine still. The scary bit is if, you know, this spell buys him around, and because of that, he's able to invest into some Mustangs. Also, the fire is back off cooldown. I'm just going to use it on the right side here. I expect him to shield. I mean, there was an orbital. We also picked that up. If I can hit some hounds, if I can hit some of the marksmen, then it's a good spell for me to have as well. And here I'm thinking, okay, maybe I need energy shield just in case. And I think we do have the money for it. I did pick up high explosive on the Wraith as well, just because the one thing I'm lacking, right, is chaff gear. I've got the DPS, but the Wasps don't have high explosive themselves, so need something that can get rid of the crawlers and the fangs, and I think HE Wraith is fine. I also cannot range my Wraith, because if I do that, then the Wasp would get in front, and I am still a bit worried about things like Mustang or Forte A, so have to protect the Wasp, which means I can't range the Wraith. We are going to get energy shield, so that will at least help a little bit. I mean, if the Wasps get hit twice, then they will die to the orbital, but hey, who knows? Maybe we can somehow get a few Wasps through, and we gave them double the survivability. Opponent here not shielding is curious. He goes for Assault Marksman. So, don't mind that too much. It's a bit of an odd play, or well, unusual perhaps. Not what I was expecting, but it makes his marksman a lot better against the Wasp, because he can now splash them. It also makes them better against the flank sledges, and it means that he doesn't get, or he doesn't die to that fire. He also went for Sprinkler. I think I did the exact same thing, because, well, both of us knew that the fire was going to be happening this turn, so kind of a funny use case of the hounds there. And it does look like we will win, but I don't think it's enough. We only have a Wraith and like 1.5 packs of Wasps, so yeah, that's not going to amount to 764, and it means that we're going to need another round to close this out. Or well, hopefully. I don't want my opponent to start stabilizing, but I think we're still in a good spot here. And while I like the Assault Marksman play, it's a cool move, I don't think it's going to be enough against Wasp. It's better than normal Marksman, but that doesn't say very much. And with the lower range, they might just get killed by the Wasps, which again have ground spec. So the bonus stats really aren't that good into this, because if I can kill a factory, you bet I can kill Assault Mode Marksman as well. Round number 8. Ion Blast shows up. Both of us will pick it. It's just that good of a spell. I can't turn it down. Hopefully able to hit some of the chaff. Maybe deal some damage to the marksman. Chip away at that factory. It should be harder for him to hit my wasps, because my comp is a bit faster and it's the one moving into him. And now round number 8, I decide to go loose formation crawlers. I love going for crawlers on elite. I think fangs are kind of bad on it, except if you get a drop, of course, but level 2 fangs don't really add anything, but level 2 crawlers can be annoying to kill for things like Mustang or even level 1 arc lights. So yeah, I love spamming crawlers, and with loose formation, you kind of get the benefit of, well, things like shielded fangs, right? You kind of double your chaff against specific chaff gear options like Sledgehammer or Assault Marksman. And so because I'm identifying that his chaff gear is weak against this, I decide to go for loose formation, and yes, suddenly we go from having like 10 plus packs to effectively like 20 against his board. Opponent here shields, goes for double shot on the marksman to try and get rid of those wasp shields, and we'll have to see if that is enough. Ion Beam here, not too bad. Already we've killed a an assault mode marksman. We've killed some of the smaller units. His ion beam, though, not bad at all. Although some of my wasps are in front. So he barely misses the wasp. And yeah, as I said, I think the ion blast there is better for me. It's easier to aim because I am the one moving in. So it's hard to predict where my units are going to be. And yeah, that should be it. So again here, we managed to get out ahead. And it's a clean win, in fact. We didn't lose a single round on a different specialist, right? Elite. But you can see that if you know what's coming, indeed, it can be difficult for the opponent to win. Like, I'm definitely favored here, but I also think that I probably have more experience playing against these type of comps because I've been playing for almost 2 years now. So I think some of the people that are higher MMR, and we are starting to get more high MMR people, just have never faced these type of comps, and they just don't quite have like the broadness of knowledge to deal with all of these different comps and know what works. So yeah, that's a little advantage for me here. I have a very good record against this guy in particular, I think, because of that. And well, if you're struggling against Factory, you see it. Try and build an air comp. Abyss, I think, is the best overall, but you can sometimes get away with some other stuff as well, like here. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know down below what you think of it. Are you an OTP? Do you like playing a very specific comp? Do you like playing into them or not at all? Let me know. If you want to stay up to date on my latest content, please consider subscribing. And if you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.